Hey guys, CDTVThaG here, and the G of course stands for God. The G stands for Gospel. The G stands for Genesis, the first book of the Old Testament. The G stands for Get Me Some Holy Water. The G stands for Good Graces of God. That's right, today we're going to be reacting to the new album from Kanye West, Jesus is King. I think that's the first time I've used multiple G's in a video. This is a revolutionary CDTVThaG video right here. Very excited to hear this album. Kanye is always doing different things, always kind of changing up his sound, switching it up, taking it in different directions. And I think it's very clear from the whole packaging and the presentation of this album and the features and stuff like that, that it's gonna pretty much be kind of like a gospel rap album. At least that's what I'm assuming it's gonna be. And I honestly don't know how that's gonna sound. I've said this before in quite a few videos, but as you guys know, I like to avoid as much information about an album as I can before I react to it. But with this one, it was just impossible because everyone was talking about this pretty much as soon as it dropped. I've not seen any specifics, so I don't know specific details about like the songs or lyrics or anything. I know there's something about Chick-fil-A, but that's about it. I just know that this has been a pretty polarizing album, and I want to see what it's all about, and I guess see why people feel so differently about it, and there's so many like conflicting opinions about this project out there. So let's just get right into the project. Track number 1, Every Hour, featuring Sunday Service Choir. Jesus. Piano's going mad. We got 30 seconds left. Where is Kanye? Okay, so that was the first track. No Kanye on it, but I don't actually necessarily feel like that track even needed to have Kanye's vocals on it. I think it worked very well as what it was. Obviously, it's not a track that I'm going to listen to too much by itself, but in terms of introducing and setting up the vibe of this album, I think it was perfect for that, and it did put a smile on my face. That just sounded like really happy music. You got those upbeat, frantic piano keys, the strong choir vocals. I think it sounded really nice. For introducing the whole gospel and religion themes to this album, it was perfect for that. So let's move on to the next one, which is track number 2, Selah. Or Selah?
How to pronounce Selah.
God is king, we the soldiers. Oja beam out the solar. Everybody wanted Yandi. The Jesus Christ did the laundry. They say the week start on Monday, but the strong start on Sunday. He say the rich like
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Okay. Ooh. Okay, that's going on for kinda long now.
Even when we die, we raise up. Ain't no want, no we need it. The powers that be have been greedy. We need ours by this evening. Damn. The two that there have been have sounded pretty damn good. I feel like that Hallelujah section of the track was cool, and it did sound really powerful with the kind of build up to it, and then just the intensity of all those different voices in the choir coming together. But it did last for a little bit long. I feel like it went on longer than it needed to, and it was just like, okay, when are we going to get into the next part of the song? Kanye sounded focused. He sounded passionate about what he was talking about. I just feel like personally I can't really invest in it a whole bunch because there's not a lot here lyrically that appeals to me personally. I feel like this was our first proper taste of what this album is going to be like, and from it I'm not too sure how I'm gonna feel about this actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So yeah, let's keep going and see where this project goes. Track number 3, Follow God. Touch my hands to you. Life like this is what your life like. Try to live your life right. People really know you push your buttons like type right. Mind looking for a bright light. Sequel what your life like. Riding on a white bike, feeling like a sight bike. Pressing on the gas. I don't have a cool week. Being on my best though. Block up on the text though. Give him some advice. He starts spazzing on me. I start spazzing back. He said, they ain't Christ-like. I said, ah!
That signature Kanye scream. Kanye's flow was really smooth on that song and how he worked with the faster moving drum beat, but I feel like that song really didn't have enough time to get going. It didn't really feel like a full song to me. It just kind of
was there. 3 tracks in and I can already see why it would be conflicting. I don't necessarily know how to feel about this music. Like, from a sound perspective, everything sounded fine. The flow was definitely smooth throughout it, and I think the way the sample was worked into the production was nice, but like I said, I just don't really feel like the song necessarily went anywhere. So let's move on to track number 4, Closed on Sunday.
You my Chick-fil-A, close on Sunday. You my Chick-fil-A.
I mean, I get the line, but okay.
Make sure they're wide awake. Follow Jesus.
I'm liking the sounds on this one so far.
Stand up for my home. Even if I take this walk alone.
Oh.
'Cause I'm no longer my own. I pray to God that He'll strengthen my hand. Jezebel don't even stand a chance. Chick-fil-A!
What? Did he have to bring that Chick-fil-A thing all the way around to closing the song out? I get the line, like, Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays, but it feels like such a strange thing to incorporate into a religious track. Kanye's an interesting man. It's weird because sonically, again, this one was very stripped down and very simplistic, but I actually think this might be my favorite sounding track on the project so far. I feel like Kanye's singing was actually, it really stood up on this track, and I especially liked it after the beat switch up into the verse. I feel like a lot of the production on this so far has been very good at that building dramatic sound. Interestingly, like, one of the less rap focused songs on the project so far has been my favorite one. So now let's move on to track number 5, which is called On God, and I believe this was the one that was supposed to have a Young Thug feature. I don't see any Young Thug feature labeled down here. Where is the Thugger verse, Kanye?
I'm a ride, it's on God. Got it in it, that's on me.
Oh.
He the new commander and the chief. In '03 they told me not to drive. I bleached my hair,
Nice.
but every time I could have died. But I survived. That's on God. That's on God. That's why I charge the prices that I charge. I can't.
That beat is pretty crazy. Again, that's another one that I just feel conflicted on and confused about, because on the outro segment, I really liked how the beat sounded with all those synths and everything. Production definitely stood out. It definitely has a bit of a different sound to it, and those synths are still playing in my head right now, so I guess it is a beat that will stick with you. But it's another one that during the verse, the way it meshed with Kanye's vocals just didn't click with me, like it didn't connect. More of the lyrical content I understood here because it wasn't necessarily like religious references or Bible references. It's basically a track of Kanye pretty much crediting a lot of his success, or at least crediting where he's at now, to God. I really didn't know Kanye was like going this hard with the whole religious thing recently, but I guess he just is like fully, like deeply converted now. I'm kind of going back and forth on this album. The only one that's really stood out to me as something I've enjoyed a lot is Closed on Sunday, and Every Hour was a nice little intro. It's definitely different to what I was expecting, I feel like. And I don't even really know what I was expecting. Let's move on to track number 6, Everything We Need, featuring Ant Clemons and Ty Dolla. Ty Dolla vocals, he absolutely killed everything that he did on Kanye's last album, Ye. He has those really powerful vocals that are almost like a choir in themselves with how he harmonizes them. So I'm interested to see how that comes into play on an album that's very clearly entirely focused on religion. And there it is. This man is a choir in himself. Can we get a Ty Dolla gospel album? I would like that.
This that different latitude. Life too short, go spoil yourself. Cause we have everything we need. We have everything we need. We have everything we need. We began after the storm inside. What if Eve made apple juice? You gon' do what Adam do? Or say, baby, let's put this back on the tree. Cause we have everything we need.
Ty Dolla on that one, just absolutely amazing vocals. His vocal harmonies and stuff, they just sound angelic. Ant Clemons in the kind of bridge that led into the hook, that sounded really smooth as well. It was just him saying we have everything we need, but he made it sound nice. Basically for Kanye, this track was about him kind of opening his eyes to Christianity and turning a new leaf in his life. I think in the end of that second verse, Kanye basically made a really nice religious metaphor for his life and tied something from the Bible into the way he's feeling now. Instead of partaking in the stuff that in Christianity is considered sinful, you just put that to the side and instead appreciate what you already have and are happy for the things that you've got. I think it was nicely put together. Definitely one of the more standout tracks to me on this project, on this very confusing project. I like this one. So let's move on to the next one. Track number 7, we have another feature from Ant Clemons. This one is called Water. Ooh.
Jesus, flow through us. Jesus, heal the bruises. Jesus, please forgive. Jesus, please reveal. Jesus, give us strength. Jesus, make us well. So well.
He sounds like Frank Ocean there. This song, there's so many songs on this project so far that I just feel like never really get going, like I've said, and this one's another one of those. Sonically, there's nothing wrong with it. Sound-wise, it is pretty beautiful, like a lot of the songs on here, but I don't feel like there's a super interesting progression to a lot of these songs. I'm just not getting a whole lot of enjoyment out of it, other than a few tracks that sound really good and a couple tracks that are really good overall. So let's move on to track number 8, God Is. I have to say, it's interesting how in a year, Kanye went from making songs about banging his sisters-in-law to this whole ass religious album. It was a pretty quick flip of the switch.
Be still, everybody I will tell till the whole world is healed. Give it time to break down all the prisons. Every man, every woman.
Kanye sounds a little bit like he needs to clear his throat here.
This my life, this my God-given right. Thank you, Jesus, won the fight.
All the production sounds so nice on these outros to me, but like, I guess I'm just not really feeling the way Kanye is working with it during the verses. That one got very raspy towards the end. It kind of sounded like Kanye was losing his voice, which I guess in a sense can make the singing sound a bit more emotional, but it didn't necessarily sound that great. Come on, Kanye, your last track on this project was called Water. Sip some. But yeah, lyrically it's more of that topic of God is great, turn my life around, all the kind of, themes that have been running throughout this album. It was another okay song. Track number 9, Hands On, featuring Fred Hammond.
Cut out all the lights, heat the light. Got pulled over, see the brights. Said I'm finna do a gospel album. What have you been hearing from the Christians? They'd be the first one to judge me. Make it feel like nobody loved me. Or halfway believers. Only halfway read Ephesians. Only if they knew what I knew. I deserve all the criticism you get. If that's all the love you have, that's all you get.
It's very similar to all the other tracks. Not necessarily exactly with how it sounds, but again, the structure and the stripped down nature to the production. Maybe I'm just not feeling this as much because there's not a trap or boom bap style drum pattern over it. Maybe my mind has been numbed by the 808s and the snare drums, and because there's not a lot of that present on a lot of these tracks, maybe that's why I'm not feeling it so much. Anyway, let's move on to track number 10, Use This Gospel, featuring Clipse and Kenny G. We got Pusha T and No Malice together again. Nice.
It's a hard road to heaven. We call on your blessings.
Singing's definitely a lot less raspy on this one. A lot smoother.
How could he not be the greatest? In my bed undercovers when undercovers had raided. But who am I to judge? I'm crooked as Vegas.
Use this gospel for protection.
Cool verse from Pusha T.
A lot of damaged souls, I done damaged those. And in my arrogance, took a camera pose. Just hold on to your brother when his faith lost.
Ooh, we just gonna dip into a saxophone solo like that? Okay, that's smooth though. It is nice. It was cool to hear the reunion of Clipse on this track, which of course is the duo of Pusha T and No Malice. With their verses, they play perfectly into this religious theme as well. It's another one that's very simplistic, like instrumentally, and I mean, it was fine. There's a lot of like powerful sounds on it, but I'm just completely like lost with this album right now. The saxophone solo was cool though. Kenny G did really nice with that sax solo. It's a unique album. I'll give it that much. It's definitely been a unique album. I do think it was a decent track, but yeah, none of these are really blowing my mind. Let's move on to the final track. Track number 11 on Jesus is King. This one is called Jesus is Lord.
Jesus is Lord. Every knee shall bow. Jesus is Lord.
Wow, and that's it. It just cuts off like that. Very short way to close it out. Yeah. I don't know, what do I say about that? Yeah, the singing was cool. Just like the first track was a nice intro to the concept, I guess you could say this track was a nice little outro to the concept and the themes of the project and the sounds. So yeah, let's just get into my overall thoughts on Jesus is King by Kanye West. That was probably the most uncertain 27 minutes of my life. Even though there's all these religious themes on the album, I was definitely still expecting quite a lot of, you know, rap focus on it. I was expecting it to be rap music, I guess, with a lot of gospel influence and like Christian rap influence in it. But that's not necessarily what it is. The rap elements are actually the least present on any Kanye album. After I listen to this and figure it all out, I really can't say if this is one I'm going to come back to all that much. I don't even know where I would rank this in Kanye's discography at the moment. So let's go through my favorite tracks and my least favorite tracks, as we always do. I think my favorite tracks on this one were probably Closed on Sunday. I like Closed on Sunday. Everything We Need, because Ty Dolla Ant Clemons, amazing on there, and I actually like Kanye's content on there. Maybe Use This Gospel as one of my favorites, I don't really know. In terms of my least favorites, it's hard to say because I'm just so uncertain about everything about this project. I would say On God, despite the really nice production on there, it just, like I said, didn't click with me. Follow God, because I felt like that track never really got going, didn't really go anywhere. And Water, I think I'd say Water is on my least favorites as well. So yeah, overall, it's definitely an evolution of Kanye's sound, but I don't think I'm feeling the direction that he went in with this one. I did like the tracks that had more building production, like the production on Selah was cool, the way it kind of built up to everything, sounded really dramatic. But then there was a lot of songs, like I mentioned on my least favorites, like Follow God, that didn't really feel like they built up to anything. There was no kind of build up to a climax and then like a release after that with the instrumental. All the features were pretty great though, I guess I could say that much. You know, Ant Clemons, good on every song he was on. Ty Dolla $ign, amazing on the song he was on. And Clipse, the short verses that Pusha T and No Malice had, those were good as well. Apart from that, that's the only thing I can really confidently say right now about this album. So that's gonna be it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this project, because I do know it is a very polarizing project. My thoughts in the end are just like, what is this? I don't know how to feel about this. Something Chick-fil-A. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed this reaction, and this is CDTVThaG signing out.
Chick-fil-A!